on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. We're going to talk about the FBI and its connection to the civil rights movement. I know a lot of people don't trust it, said it was horrible. We can see if we can rehabilitate it a little bit today. Today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. You know, the FBI is the preeminent law enforcement agency probably in the world. It has a serious responsibility stopping violent revolution, terrorism, organized crime, interstate crime, you know, when you go over state lines and all that kind of stuff. That's the FBI. It was started before World War II, and its power expanded over the years. And J. Edgar Hoover was its first director and stayed director, I think, until 1972, over 50 years. And Hoover became the face of the FBI. A lot of people don't understand the FBI. They always thought that the FBI yesterday was the FBI today, that it always had these powers to just go grab jokers and jack them up and put them in jail. No, that's not true. For a very, very long time, the FBI had very limited powers when it came down to doing a lot of things. Every time the FBI's powers were extended, they were extended because Congress extended them. So a lot of people thought that during the civil rights movement, the FBI had a lot of powers that it didn't. So when you would have the Freedom Riders, for instance, and the young children would be there just getting the hell beat out of them by locals, Ku Klux Klan and all of them, they're just beating them up. The FBI would be there, but they couldn't do any arrests. All they could do was observe. That's all they could do. And people would get mad. Why the FBI arrest somebody? The FBI arrested. They didn't have any arresting powers. But what they could do was make reports and then go back to Congress and said, this is what we're seeing in Mississippi and Alabama. And the local authorities won't do anything. You have to expand our powers so we're able to go and make these arrests. And that's where the FBI, and that's why a lot of people get confused about the FBI's participation or lack of participation in the civil rights movement. They thought that the FBI in 1960, in 1962 and 63 was the same as the FBI in 2025, and this is incorrect. The powers have been extended. So, these FBI tapes are getting ready to come out. Social media and a lot of the left is already trying to prepare black people in America to not pay attention or trust the FBI tapes. That's their stick. Don't believe nothing the FBI says. Okay? You can say that, but there is no evidence that I found that anything that the FBI has ever recorded or used as evidence was doctored or mishandled. I just haven't seen it. Now, there's some people out there that might know more than me. I'm just telling you what I've seen. If all those people that said that J. Edgar Hoover was a racist, J. Edgar Hoover hated Martin Luther King Jr., J. Edgar Hoover this and David is that, I think that one of those things are true. I think that J. Edgar Hoover definitely did not like Martin Luther King Jr. However, I think that J. Edgar Hoover's dislike for Martin Luther King Jr. was warranted. I don't think that he was a racist because he had too many dealings with Roy Wilkins from the NAACP, James Farmer from CORE, Thurgood Marshall told Juan Williams that J. Edgar Hoover never lied to him. Juan Williams did a book on Thurgood Marshall. He asked him about Hoover. And he said Hoover never lied to him. He said Hoover would come to him because Thurgood Marshall, before he became Supreme Court Justice, was a federal judge. And the FBI had to come to federal judges to get their warrants to go do whatever they did. And they had to come and bring their evidence to federal judges. And the federal judge had to sign off on the warrant. So Thurgood Marshall said that when the FBI came to him and Hoover came to him, Hoover always had the goods. He said Hoover didn't have to lie. He said there was no reason to lie. There wasn't that I just dislike this guy and I'm going to try to put him in jail because I dislike him. It was always a valid reason why you didn't like the guy. He's a murderer, he's a rapist, he's a terrorist, he's a communist. And J. Edgar Hoover hated communists. So, how did we get this ideology about the FBI being the bad guys? Okay, very simple. When J. Edgar Hoover was alive, nobody bothered him. You can check the timeline on this stuff. Nobody did any anti-FBI stories, no anti-FBI stuff. But before Hoover was dead in the ground, Hollywood started destroying this man's reputation. And J. Edgar Hoover never married, never had any children. He had nobody to protect his reputation. And Hollywood hated J. Edgar Hoover for one reason. Hollywood is leftist, and J. Edgar Hoover was locking they leftist behinds up and putting them in jail. He was destroying their organizations. He was bringing them before the un-Americans' activities. He was hounding them. The left and the communists and the Marxists hated J. Edgar Hoover because J. Edgar Hoover saw communism as a threat to the United States of America, and he saw that his job was to keep violent revolution and revolution down in the United States of America, and that's who these leftists were. So in order to save what they were doing in the 60s and try to pretend like it was so heroic, they had to get themselves a boogeyman. That boogeyman was J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover took out the Black Panthers. He took out the Ku Klux Klan. Man, Hoover did some. They took out the communists, took out a lot of domestic terrorists. Yeah, a lot of y'all sitting here alive today because of what J. Edgar Hoover did. So all this hatred you have for J. Edgar Hoover, I think you need to double check it. Because he didn't just, go out and aggravate civil rights people and Cointelpro. No. He did a lot. Matter of fact, Cointelpro was, of all the activities that the FBI did, they said that Cointelpro was 0.2% of all FBI work over a 15-year period of time. Now, what was Cointelpro? Cointelpro was a counterintelligence program that the FBI put together around 1955, 1956, to deal with all the revolutionary movements in the United States of America, whether they be black, whether they be communists, whether they be Marxists, whatever they were, whether they are just terrorists like the Ku Klux Klan. They would get information on these groups, find out what they were doing, and then they would disrupt them. And if they found out that the group had nefarious activities, they would disrupt them and destroy them inside. They wouldn't so much as kill them or assassination. As a matter of fact, and I could be wrong about this, again, I haven't found, I know there's a lot of people that think the FBI is a murder machine, that they just kill people, all this kind of stuff. I found no evidence of anyone that the FBI assassinated. Again, I have not. If somebody has information on that, please share it. That's cool. People try to say that the FBI killed King. It haven't been proven. They try to say FBI killed Malcolm X. Haven't been proven. They try to say FBI killed Medgar Evers. Haven't been proven. It's like every time somebody get killed in America, say the FBI did it. And it's just not proven. I know it's theory, but there has been no proof, and no FBI agent that I know of has been going to jail for murdering an American citizen or anything like that. Now again, if he did do it, it was a rogue FBI agent that did it because he wanted to do it. It wasn't because it was government policy or that he had been given a command from the top. FBI agent, go kill this guy. I haven't found that. So, the FBI and the Civil Rights Movement. They started investigating the civil rights movement because they found out that there were so many communists involved in it. First, the communists tried to organize the black community back in the 1940s, right after World War II, really 1930s, after the Communist Revolution. And they went down and tried to organize the sharecroppers, the black and white sharecroppers, and it didn't work. So they got involved in the civil rights movement, and Stanley Levinson, you've heard me call his name many times, was the number one communist in America. He and Bayard Rustin, Gus Hall, he was a big-time communist. They all were involved in the civil rights movement. Again, the communists were about violent revolution in America. Violent revolution. If the communists are going to try to change America through the political system, that's acceptable. If you're going to try to change America through killing people, burning up cities, blowing up stuff, unacceptable. Hoover was looking out for that. And Hoover knew that the civil rights movement was very, very canny. They would say on one end that they were nonviolent, and then on the other end, they blowing up stuff. They'd go into a city, and the damn city would just start burning. And people fighting in the street, and they say, how the heck can you be nonviolent? But everywhere you go, you cause violence. And so Martin Luther King Jr. and his people will go in, and they would start jugging at folks. They'd find out what the ordinances was if you marched in the street without a permit. And they would find the most violent local sheriffs and police departments and the ones that had the most vicious ordinances, and then they would go into these cities and they would march without a permit and bring the cameras in, and when you would show the aftermath of it, they see all this fighting and water hoses and dogs, and Martin Luther King would say it's all because he wanted to vote. And of course it changed, though it would change public opinion. Public opinion would then tell the Congress we need these laws, and then the laws will come in, King gets the gun and gets what he wants. Okay, so Hoover was watching this. And he had infiltrated all of these movements to find out if these movements were going to really turn violent. If they were going to start getting bombs, they were going to start assassinations, they're going to start killing people. He needed to know because there were so many communists involved. These people connected to Moscow and getting so much money from Moscow. If the trigger was going to be pulled, he needed to know when the trigger was going to be pulled. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, it's a fact, Hoover did not like King. Why did he not like King? Because King had come to the White House when JFK told King, Bobby Kennedy and the director, the guy over the Civil Rights Division, told Martin Luther King Jr., listen, we want you to be successful. We are invested in your success. We want the Civil Rights Acts and everything to pass. We want it to happen because Russia is using the way America treats black people as ammunition to spread communism all over the world. We have to end this in America. So King, you're the horse we're riding. Let's get this done. So Bobby Kennedy told King, we want to get this done, Martin, but you got a bunch of communists with you. Bayard Rustin, Stanley Levinson, Hunter Pitts Hodel, all these guys are communists. They got to go. King lies to Bobby Kennedy and John Kennedy and told them he was going to kick these communists out. He didn't. J. Edgar Hoover is watching these communists, and he sees there's a meeting down in Dorchester, Georgia. He sets up some cameras, wants to see who's going to be at that meeting, sees Martin Luther King Jr. show up with this nest of spies. That makes Hoover angry. Bobby Kennedy says, put the wiretaps on him. That's when he finds out that King is not just a liar to the president. He's been lying to the nation. The guy's a stone cold pervert. The guy says he's a man of the cloth. And they said of all the people that they've surveilled, he was of the top 3, the worst people they've ever surveilled in their lives. He keeps all this information hidden. They say he tried to get the press to put it out. No, he didn't. Because if J. Edgar Hoover had sent that information down to Jackson, Mississippi, or Alabama, or Memphis, Tennessee, they would have gladly put it in their papers. No, he was still the horse that this government was riding. And if they was doing more than anything, they were protecting King. But J. Edgar Hoover did not like him. That's the truth. Now, when people say the J. Edgar Hoover tried to destroy the civil rights movement, he tried to take down the civil rights, he hated the civil rights movement, that is a lie. And I can tell you how it's a lie. There was this group in the civil rights movement called the Revolutionary Action Movement. RAM was their acronym. They were headed by this guy by the name of Maxwell Stanford. Maxwell's name now is Muhammad Ahmad. Max changed his name. And this guy by the name of Don Freeman. Now, this group was tough. These guys didn't play. They wanted a black nation. And they wanted it, the United States of America to give up Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. That was their goal. And they was going to have that as a black homeland and separate black people from all white folks here in the United States of America. Matula Shakur, Tupac Shakur's stepdaddy, was part of this crew. And they was robbing banks. They was doing all kind of stuff. They were serious. But the one thing they hated the Southern civil rights leaders, because the civil rights leaders down south were talking about integration. These guys were talking about getting a black homeland and separation. And they saw that these Southern civil rights leaders were having more success. And of course, these guys were occupying the homeland that they wanted. You know, they were occupying Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The very lands that they said that they wanted to make a black homeland, they saw that these black civil rights leaders were actually talking about, we want to integrate with white people in these homelands. They said, oh, they got to go. They got to go. They have got to go. So these jokers had set up a plan to do what all revolutionaries do. We're going to kill them all. So they hatched up a plan. Yeah, they're going to kill Roy Wilkins from NAACP, Whitney Young, Urban League. They're going to kill everybody. Martin Luther King Jr. But guess who found out about it? The guy that hates the civil rights movement so much, J. Edgar Hoover. He had infiltrated RAM and found out that RAM was going to kill all the members of the civil rights movement. So, because J. Edgar Hoover hated the civil rights movement so much, he let it happen. He let RAM come in and kill all them jokers. No, he didn't. He not only warned them, he went and he arrested all of them. Some of them went underground, went to Cuba, and they had this group called the Queen 17. Look them up. They went on trial for this conspiracy. Now, let's use some logic here. If the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover hated the civil rights movement, wouldn't they have simply allowed RAM to carry out their plan and kill all the civil rights leaders and then arrested RAM and said, well, look at this. N-words killing N-words. Isn't this terrible? Wow. We wish we had known about it. We would have stopped it. No, y'all. He stopped it. Now tell me something. Really, put your head together now. How do you hate somebody, but you save their life? Riddle me that. Nobody has an answer? The information on Martin Luther King Jr. didn't come out until this group burglarized the FBI office in Medea, Pennsylvania in 1971. King died in 1968. They got the Cointelpro files and released them to the Washington Post and released them to the Washington Post and the New York Times. Washington Post printed them. Now tell me something. If nobody would have printed anything on King shenanigans in 1968, why would they print things on King shenanigans in 1971? Said, well, nobody printed. They didn't mind printing in 1971. You know why they didn't print it? Because they didn't get the information. The information was in FBI headquarters sealed. People lying, y'all. They've been lying on the FBI. And look, I understand why y'all don't like the FBI. I mean, FBI's never done anything wrong to me. But there's a lie going on here that J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI was trying to take out the civil rights movement. Believe me, if J. Edgar Hoover and FBI wanted to take out the civil rights movement, it would have been took out. It just would have been taken out, y'all. It ain't hard. Stop. If history has taught us anything, you can kill anyone. Stop. I mean, they wanted Martin Luther King dead. He's been dead in the 1950s. It's not hard to kill somebody. Especially when you got billions of dollars to hire some hitman to just go blow somebody's head off. And King was always out there. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Had to wait to get a sniper to do it on the Rain Motel. Come on, man. So the truth is coming out. You talk about what the FBI did to the Black Panthers. Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth, y'all. The Panthers needed to be taken out. Them jokers was crazy. Panthers is going around shooting police. Talking about selling Mao Zedong's Red Book, talking about violent revolutions, Panthers, Stalinism. They were talking about violent revolution. Selling dope on the street. Huey Newton ended up becoming a daggum crackhead, got killed doing a crack deal with somebody. All of them talking about communism and Stalinism and living like capitalists, like they all do. Driving Mercedes-Benzes, living in penthouses. Yeah. Dope heads. Selling the lie. Don't get high on your own supply now. You sell socialism. You don't live socialism. So the Panthers went out, and a few of them started believing that Panther stuff, started killing police and whatnot. And the FBI, when they started shooting police, they were done. They were done. Open the floodgates, take them out. And just in case any of y'all out there plan on doing the same thing, let me give you some advice. You need to leave that alone. If you go out there and you start killing police, you go out there and you start shooting FBI officers, you go out there and you start killing anybody trying to start a violent revolution in America, they gonna beat the living hell out of you. They gonna put a squad out on you. That's when you talking about assassinations, dog. They're not gonna play. No. You better get involved in the democratic process, run for office, change the minds of the American people. Like black folks down in the ghettos, they vote in communism every 2 years. Voted in with their mayors and with their congressmen. Yeah, they vote in communism. Living like dogs down there. They living down there, graffiti, drugs, crime, promise. It's just crazy down there. But they voted in. That's what they want. That's who they are. So vote it in. That way you can keep it. So, they took out the Black Panthers. They took out Ram. And guess who else they took out, y'all? The Ku Klux Klan. Now, how is it that a racist organization like the FBI would take out the Ku Klux Klan? Why? If they hate black people in the civil rights movement, the Ku Klux Klan, they should have been giving the Ku Klux Klan guns. They should have been in league with the Klan. Here, Klan, here's some guns, here's some grenades, here's some missiles. Kill every black person you can find. That wasn't the case. They were involved. Arresting the guys that killed Swerna Goodman and Cheney. Arresting the men that were killing civil rights workers and beating up freedom riders. Yes, the FBI was involved in all of that. So all of you people out there who are hearing the things, these bad things, and some of the things the FBI did was not cool. The little The letter they sent to Martin Luther King Jr. telling him, you know what to do, and if you don't do it in 34 days, we're going to expose who you are to the world. And as I told you before, they called it the suicide letter. It wasn't a suicide letter. It was King, you better come kiss the ring of J. Edgar Hoover letter. And in 2 weeks, King was down at the FBI office kissing Hoover's ring. Yeah, the FBI would go in and they would break up. They went in and they caused division between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, from what I understand, and caused a lot of turmoil in the Nation of Islam. Yeah, they would do that. They would go into an organization that they thought was revolutionary and wanted to do harm in America, and they would go in and they would break it down. I'm not justifying all the things that the FBI did, but when people say that the FBI was racist, that it wanted to destroy the civil rights movement, that it hated Martin Luther King Jr. or Hoover hated King without cause, or disliked him without cause. I don't know if hate is the word that you use. I understand that Cointelpro was designed to keep a black messiah so much from coming up that would lead the people, and that was a phrase that meant lead the people into violent revolution. They didn't want any black messiah that would come up and lead the people into a violent revolution, which, again, no country does. You want your people to be involved in the democratic process. You want your people to do as the Constitution say. You have a right to protest peaceably, to go to your government, tell them what you need, run for office, change the minds of the American people. That's the proper way of working here in the United States of America. Not through violence, not through coercion, not through intimidation, not through getting money from foreign sources, not through lying, not through intimidation, not through fraud, like many in the civil rights movement were doing. So as we look at the FBI and what they did in the civil rights movement, you need to always look at the source. Always look at the people who are telling the story. The people who are telling the story are the ones that hated the FBI. Why? Because the FBI kicked all of their behinds and put them in prison. And of course, when J. Edgar Hoover died, they all came out and said J. Edgar Hoover was a terrible individual. And the worst thing in the world, in America right now, you can be called is a racist. So Hoover, of course, to them is a racist and was a vile one. I'm here to tell you that if J. Edgar Hoover had been a racist, as they say, he would have allowed Ram to come in and destroy and murder all civil rights workers, all civil rights leaders, and he would have not stopped the Ku Klux Klan, but he would have armed the Ku Klux Klan to kill and destroy civil rights workers. He didn't either. He stopped Ram, he destroyed the Ku Klux Klan, eradicated them. To me, that puts J. Edgar Hoover in a whole nother category. I hope that you take this under consideration, and that I hope for the rest of your lives now, when you listen at these liberals and these Democrats give the history of anyone, including King and including the FBI and including the history of America, you see it as it is, a lie. Because they're a bunch of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots, thugs, hoes, and rappers. And I'm never going to let you forget it, because I'm here to wake you up. Hope I did you some good today. So join me again for another Vince Everett Ellison show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website, and on my website, you're going to see a lot of great stuff, man. You're going to see that we got t-shirts, we got caps, you got my books, my documentaries, you got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new t-shirts, we're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it, make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good. And it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We can no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the t-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.